Hello everybody and welcome back to another Coaster Cheetah video, and in this video I'll be doing a coaster review for White Lightning at Fun Spot America Orlando, and it is a GCI wooden coaster, and it's really the first impression that you get of Fun Spot Orlando. When you first pull up to the park, you see White Lightning immediately with its steel structure and the wooden track, and it does look very cool. And going into this, I really didn't know what to expect because I watched some reviews on the coaster beforehand, and I got kind of mixed opinions. Not that it was bad, but that it was mid-tier to upper-tier GCI, so I didn't have my expectations set up really high, but I also didn't have them set up low, and I will say that this coaster did impress me. It was very good. There are definitely some flaws that I will talk about later in the video, but I really like to compare this coaster, or imagine it as kind of like an Intamin Megalite, but for GCI. It really feels like one of their thrill wooden coasters, but just kind of shrunk down a little bit into a smaller and more compact layout, which is certainly not a bad thing because although this coaster's layout is not long and it doesn't last long, like the ride is not long, it keeps its speed and the pacing is good and it flies right into the brakes, so it's definitely not a bad thing that has a shorter layout. Plus it is crammed into a smaller area, and I think that GCI and Fun Spot really used the area of land that it's in very well to put this coaster in. But now let's get into the layout for White Lightning. Right out of the station, you will take a small dip and then into your 69-foot lift hill, which will be the max height for this coaster, and you will drop down 67 feet, which is a classic GCI twisted drop. However, in the back row, I was very shocked by this ride. This drop. It is actually pretty crazy. It's definitely not one of the best drops I've been on, but it was very shocking for a coaster with only a 67-foot drop. And yeah, it was pretty steep, and yeah, I really liked it. I haven't been on a ton of GCIs, so I'm not sure if the drops are always like that, but I think a part in it is that it was so compact that I don't know, it just felt so punchy and awesome going down the drop. It was very cool, and I was very impressed by that. Now, following right after the drop, you'll have a small bank turn going right that will lead you into the double up, which immediately then follows a double down. So yeah, a double up and then a double down right after, and this is definitely one of, if not the best moments in the entire coaster, because this is very strong airtime. The step ups and downs are very good. However, the actual highest point on the double up, it's like a double up and a double down put into one element, and the highest point on it is a little too slow to get very strong airtime, but you do get a little bit, but the step ups and downs definitely do deliver the most airtime. And right after this double up and double down, you will go into a banked turn. It kind of starts off as an airtime hill, but then goes into a turn, which is your far turnaround. And here's where you will hit the only really rough jolt on the ride. Other than that, this ride is very smooth, especially the section of Titan track on this ride. And yeah, so there you will hit a jolt about halfway or midway through the far turnaround, and it's just really uncomfortable. It doesn't last long at all, though. It's just that, and if you're expecting it, then yeah, I remembered that it was there after watching a review a couple hours before, so I knew it was going to be there. And yeah, you could definitely feel it. It was definitely uncomfortable, but that's really the only rough part on the ride that you can really notice. So yeah, then you'll finish off your little turnaround and then continue the layout going back to the station. Then for the rest of the ride, you will be traveling over some small turns and bunny hills. I know there is a section where it crosses over the track and has a little double down that goes right by the road, so it's very cool. And yeah, there's just a flurry of hills and turns, and you're flying through this. So yeah, you can really feel it, and the ejector airtime is great here, and then you will slam into your brake run. Obviously, you're not slamming in, when I'm saying that, it's not like an Iron Gwazi or Zadra, but you are going into the brakes very fast. It's not like you're crawling in like something like Alpengeist or something. You do carry a lot of your speed into the brakes, which I think is very cool. Now, I think this goes without saying, but there's no theming on this ride, basically. The ride is themed to trains, but it's very loose. The train is themed to a train, and there's kind of some signage by it, but that's really it. It is a Fun Spot park, so you should know not to expect theming, but I just wanted to put that out there. And I have only visited Fun Spot Orlando once so far, but I got 5 rides on White Lightning, once in the very front, 3 times in the very back, and then once in the second to last row. And yeah, I definitely like the back the most. I didn't see a huge difference between the, the very back and the second to last row. But yeah, the drop was amazing in the back. The front row, I didn't mind it, like I thought it was still good, but there was definitely a noticeable difference between the front and the back, and I definitely liked the back a lot more than the front. It was just an all-around stronger feeling ride. The speed, obviously, you could notice more in the front, but the airtime and forces were way better in the back, so I definitely enjoyed it in the back more. And all around, I was very impressed by this ride, and it is one of my favorite wooden roller coasters. To be fair, I haven't ridden a lot of wooden roller coasters. This summer I'll be hitting a lot of them, like Mystic Timbers and stuff like that. But yeah, so this coaster I was very impressed by, and it really gave me a taste for what GCI's coasters have to offer, and I definitely like this coaster a lot. For my personal score for this ride, I am going to give it an 8 out of 10. It's not anything crazy, however, I did enjoy it a lot. And I think for FunSpot having this is a great addition at this park because it doesn't take up a lot of space, but it still delivers an action-packed layout and an all-around good coaster, which I definitely enjoyed. I would also like to say that this coaster looks very good at night, and yeah, it has chaser lights on it that are like rainbow colored, and they flash like between the colors, and it just really looks cool at night as the train goes along the tracks, so that is another cool detail about this ride. One other thing I'd like to mention is that this actually does have shorter trains than normal GCIs, and they're actually a lot shorter. They're only like 5 cars. It kind of reminds me of like how Gravity Group's family coasters have shorter cars, but yeah, this does have shorter trains, and yeah, it's the operations on this, like when I went, there was barely even a line. However, I wasn't there even close to midnight, which I'm assuming is kind of where it gets crowded. I was there from about 6:30 to like 10, and it barely got any lines, so the operations were, you know, it was basically a walk on the whole time or a station wait max. So yeah, I didn't really have to worry about lines, and all around I would say it is worth it to go to FunSpot America because they do have Freedom Flyer too, which I know most people are just going to do for the credit. But, I mean, it's still kind of a decent coaster, but yeah, I did really enjoy White Landing, and I would like to hear all about what you guys have to say about it in the comments down below. If you did enjoy, please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye.